But yeah, so I think that that's pretty awesome for our number two. So let's go ahead and move over to number three. And this one I think is going to be pretty interesting. It's the future of international sumo as a sport. Um, a little bit behind baseball. We were in like the proper area to be put into the Olympics. We had a situation happen, multiple situations, kind of complicated, and we were removed from the World Games, which is the feeder into the Olympics. So, where do you guys think the future of our particular sport is? And we'll go ahead with you, Joel.
Well, yeah, I mean that's an unfortunate thing, but we'll just have to bend that bridge too, and we get back in there on that for starters, and then yeah, w- we just need more growth, per country, more involvement at a local level, because it's a sport that you once you get going, you really don't need any more than a piece of thread or a rope or a band, and you put it on the stand or you put it on the ground, and you actually have a match type contest situations that you know fair, and you can build that sort of sportsmanship culture. Whereas you walk into some gyms these days and there's these egos and there's this and there's that. There's no ego on the dojo because it just you just get smashed right off, and then if you don't get back on, you don't get back on. But like it's just you have to get better to be good. Like you just have to try and try and try, and then you get better. Like you through the failure, you succeed. And then with that being said, like no one's had the opportunity to see it because like most people don't even get to see the pros. And the pros in Japan are at just another level of like I just have to stress that point. Like they're not the same human as every other human walking around. Like, and I know because I've done so many different sports, I've picked up so many different things, I've tried this, and you know, it it is difficult. So it's very hard for even say gymnasts. Like, you want to be the best world champion gymnast, you need to be on the top national team by like age of 12. Like, you need to be selected to get in there, get your shot, to get your chance. And it's similar with this pro sumo. But in amateur sumo, you don't need to be that. You can develop yourself within a year or two. You can transfer the skills that you already have from whatever you've done. And if you focus on the training that you're doing, just at a local club level, then yeah, you could have people take the basic fundamentals of sumo and get members, and then have a successful, sport. And I don't see why that's not the future. For what that's what I want to be doing, especially from my coaching side, and getting people more involved at the international level, because that's where my interest is. I want to win a world medal. That's 100% where I'm focused, and all my athletes too.
Heck yeah. Heck
Yeah.
yeah. And Sigmund?
Yes, the bit of a obviously the issue of being thrown out of the World Games is not as one-sidedly negative as people will portray it as. Look, there are many things that needs to develop in international sumo, and that's a lot easier when we are our own sport and have the complete autonomy over how our system is supposed to work. Like back in back in 2019, 2022, the years that we've had athletes in the World Games, sumo was international sports sumo was a sort of a shell organization built around the World Games as a single, one time every 4 year event, which is a really, really bad position to be in, where everything is about that event every 4 years. And I don't want to talk down any sport, but I mean, gonna have to go with curling. We were the International Sumo Federation's prime goal at the time was to become the curling of the Summer Olympics, which is just a really bad goal to set, because you don't develop like a full whole world sport, well-rounded world sport. But now that we have to stand on our own 2 feet and have to actually build this thing, that means that we have more pressure on doing all those things that make the sport into a decent international circuit, which will be ultimately what is needed to get to become an Olympic sport as well. So you can have that dual goal, but at the same time, starting in the end of let's get into the World Games so we can get into the Olympics is wrong. Is the wrong end to start in. What international sumo needs is a well organized, well rounded tournament system on a continental and world stage. We are starting to build it more and more in Europe with the European Cup, and we're building that as a separate tournament system from the European Championship. So the European Championship is a standalone championship. Each country can send as many 2 athletes each, and they fight it out essentially. And the winner at the end of the day is the European champion. The European Cup is a currently 3 event series over the year, where you pick up points for every event, and the winner at the end is the winner of the European Cup. Now, the European Championship is your pole position from the European Championship doesn't count towards the European Cup. Very simple reason for it, and I argued very heavily for that position, because we do not have the European Cup as a way to give a prize to the European champion one more time. The point of the European Cup is to incentivize athletes to attend the European Cup as a separate event over time, several times. Now, if you gave points, or back in the day, you gave double points to the European champion, they would turn up to the European Championship, win that, turn up to a European Cup of their choosing, like on home field typically, win that one, and win the European Cup all told without turning up to any other events. It became a bit of a shit show, or a joke, really. But if you have like the European Cup tournaments being that's the only thing that counts towards European Cup, you have that dual tournament system, which also means that if you're not on the in the selection for the European Championships, you can still make your country's quota of 4, because in the European Cup you have 4 athletes per weight class, whereas in the European Championship you only have 2. Now, that means that if you have a quarrel with the national team head coach, for instance, and you're not getting picked for the continental championships for political reasons, which happens in many countries, they will still have a hard time arguing you can't be one of those 4 if you actually are really talented. And you can win the European Cup all told, even though you're not on the, say, Euros team. That's one of those beauties of having like a dual system. Also, in terms of weight cutting, if you are and I personally, I'm totally against weight cutting. I mean, one thing is a half a kilo here, but as soon as people start cutting a significant amount of weight from their body weight, I'm completely against it. I think it's a stupid way to go about it in sumo wrestling, because and let's go on to a whole tirade about weight cutting, but it's just not good for the thing that we do specifically, which is which is a sport that relies heavily on your reaction time and more than weight, more than size, really. But if you are of the persuasion that you have to cut a lot of weight for making your championship weight, then winning the Euro Cup all told is going to be very difficult for you, because you're going to have to cut that weight over and over and over again. That also is a way to incentivize those athletes to, they can, if they really want to have that European Championship weight class and do that only once a year or twice a year for Championship and World Championship, okay, whatever. But you have those other cups where you can go one weight class above, and it doesn't affect their rankings, because you can say, okay, I'll go men's 92 for the Euro Cup, and I'll go men's 85 for the championships. And the national team leadership can say, okay, sure, that's your prerogative, go for it. So that's just a microcosm of how that tournament system works in Europe. And what I would like to see on the world stage situation would be to have, first of all, I would like to increase the Euro Cup to 5 events yearly, and I would like to see 4 World Cups organized along the same lines, where you have one for each continent, essentially. That's throughout the year, and the winner of the World Cups, where each country can say have 2 athletes, all told, becomes the World Cup winner, separate from the World Championship. Again, same type of logic. And then you will have, then if you have that on every continent and in the world all told, you have these like um, parallel tournament systems that athletes can compete for honor and glory in, and it gives a lot of opportunities to many. And that obviously will come in addition to the whole undergrowth of open tournaments a year. And that's a very important dimension, because that's our laboratory. Open tournaments is our laboratory for how we develop the sport, how we like toy around with weight classes, how we various tournament systems. You can try things that you can't try in a established tournament system with like a brand name and a title at the end. You can't really play around with those, but you can play around with the open tournament, and those are very important. Obviously, back up and you must accept that, yeah, it's a bit of anarchy, and tournaments rise and fall, but that's the nature of this. It's an analogy for the world of biology, where you have you try out things. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. It's so important to keep that as well. So having established those types of systems, and also getting more countries involved, and all of us aiding to get new countries up and running and getting their communities up and going. I know a couple of specific nodes I would love to see. Hopefully, we can get back to it a little bit later on. That is what is needed to get the sport to a level where the Olympics can actually be a positive thing. Because the Olympics can be a positive thing for our sport. It can be, but it's a major emphasis on can, because there are sports out there. Everything about the sport is about the Olympics, and that's been to the extreme detriment of those sports. And I will go out on a limb and say that wrestling is one of those sports that's not definitely benefiting from being an Olympic sport at the moment, where everything, those 4 years, nothing counts except for the Olympics. So they don't care about things like tournament systems. And I mean, to my complete shock, like certain weight classes, they don't even care about the world championship title because it's a non-Olympic weight class. But that type of mentality, really, it's extremely damaging. We can't get there.